This is the newsroom for today, Thursday, February 11, 2021. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarsi TV in particular. In the headlines, doctors and nurses were among the first frontline health workers to receive the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine in Guyana.
How does it feel? Were you nervous?
Of course, but I'm okay now.
The GDF will be boosted with marine vessels and aircraft in order to effectively monitor the country's EEZ and borders. President Irfaan Ali announces the formation of One Guyana Commission during his inaugural address to the Parliament.
The essential character of my government vision is inclusion. Stop being defined by race, stop being defined by politics.
In tonight's feature, we highlight how a local bakery literally rose from the ashes. And in sport, we get paid to make runs and be consistent, says Nkrumah Bonner, and framework of partnership key to pushing sport development, says Ramson Jr. With the news, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We start off by telling you that almost a year after the first COVID-19 case and death in Guyana, the country began its COVID-19 immunization on Thursday, administering the first jab to Bernard Bernerai, a pharmacist attached to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. Several other frontline health workers at the GPHC and the COVID-19 intensive care unit also received the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine on Thursday. The Health Minister, Dr. Frank Anthony, after witnessing the first jab being administered, said it was a historic moment and the government was pleased to initiate the process. A doctor working in the ICU since the start of the pandemic, a nurse trained to administer the vaccine, and a doctor in charge of the Infectious Diseases Hospital also spoke with the newsroom.
How does it feel? Were you nervous?
Of course, but I'm okay now.
Okay. All right.
So what was it like? How did you feel before you obviously working on the front lines?
It was okay. I didn't feel anything out of the normal. I was glad to work on the front line.
We have started with the AstraZeneca vaccine, and we are going to get, apart from the 3,000 doses that we received yesterday, and we've started to use, by the end of the month we are going to get more doses, and in March we are going to get a lot more doses, because through the various mechanisms that we'll be working on to get vaccines, we want to ensure that every single health worker, once they're willing to receive the vaccine, that there's a vaccine there for them.
In my view, it's a game changer, and it's certainly life-saving. As you rightly said, I would have seen patients with severe forms of it, and I can tell you it's very sad to see so many people die in front of you for something that potentially is preventable. Of course, we are still to maintain all of the different recommendations as it relates to how we interact with each other.
Today, I'm overwhelmed with the turnout and also to be a part of this vaccine campaign in vaccinating our population and most importantly our frontline workers.
So it is our responsibility, not just as healthcare professionals but as citizens of our country, to assist our country and to protect ourselves and our loved ones, because by you getting vaccinated you ensure that you are protecting yourself against COVID-19 and avoiding yourself contracting COVID-19, and that's where you protect your loved ones. So if I'm to say one thing, I guess it would be to make sure you get vaccinated.
Now, the World Health Organization, WHO, on Thursday officially listed the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine for emergency use. On Wednesday, Guyana received its first donation of some 3,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines from Barbados. This will be administered to some 1,400 frontline healthcare workers who are required to take 2 doses of the vaccines. The second is given 4 to 12 weeks after the first. The CARICOM Secretariat will use 200 doses to vaccinate 100 persons. Some 22,000 healthcare workers are to be vaccinated, with the health minister also promising vaccines for healthcare workers working in the private sector. Now, 2 elderly men, an 83-year-old from Region 4, Demerara, Mahaica, and a 90-year-old from Region 5, Mahaica, Berbice, have been recorded as the country's latest COVID-19 deaths. The latest casualties take the country's death toll to 184 and also mean that 7 persons have died so far for the month. The Ministry of Health in a statement revealed that both patients died while receiving medical care at a facility on Wednesday. Now, following the illegal detention of 2 Guyanese fishing vessels and crew by Venezuela 3 weeks ago while fishing in Guyana's exclusive economic zone, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and President of Guyana, Irfaan Ali, on Thursday revealed that the Guyana Defense Force will be boosted with marine vessels and aircraft in order to effectively monitor the country's EEZ and borders. Isnella Patwa reports.
Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and President of Guyana, Dr. Irfaan Ali, was speaking at the opening ceremony of a 2-day Guyana Defense Force GDF Annual Officers Conference being held at the National Cultural Center in Georgetown, shortly after Chief of Staff Acting of the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier Godfrey Best, spoke about the severe challenges being faced in monitoring the country's porous borders. The head of state said the GDF will benefit from the necessary equipment and resources to improve surveillance of the country's land, territorial sea, and exclusive economic zone, EEZ. This comes after a Venezuelan naval vessel illegally seized 2 Guyanese fishing vessels and detained its 12-member crew on January 21, 2021. The 2 vessels were operating in Guyana's waters, and 2 weeks after being detained, at the instruction of the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, the vessels and crew were released on February 2, 2021, and all charges were dropped.
The force will continue to be recapitalized. It will benefit from the acquisition of equipment, aircraft and marine vessels, which will allow it to exercise improved surveillance over Guyana's territory, its land, territorial sea, and exclusive economic zone. A stronger force, however, does not necessarily mean a larger force. We are building a smarter defense force with an emphasis on increased use of technology and intelligence.
Brigadier Best, who spoke before the head of state, emphasized that Guyana's EEZ must also be protected at all costs, and so he pointed out the significant challenges the GDF face as it relates to monitoring the country's hinterland terrain, borders, and EEZ.
We also have significant challenges with new and emerging transnational threats as we combat grooming, narco-trafficking, and associated activities, trafficking in persons, continuous illegal crossing of our borders, migration crisis, and we have also seen the discovery of illegal airstrips in our territory. These activities, individually or combined, present threats to our communities and people. We must be able to better monitor the nation's air, land, and sea spaces and interdict interlopers.
Meanwhile, the Commander-in-Chief further revealed that a new national defense policy will also be implemented. This new policy will be grounded on 4 pillars: institution, individual, fortification of national security, and national integration. The policy will also place special focus on improved housing, healthcare, special retirement benefits, and opportunities for the professional and personal development of the ranks. Meanwhile, a number of officers are also currently undergoing training as pilots and engineers, while over 100 officers were awarded scholarships to local academic institutions to further boost their capacity in the force. The Army Conference is being held under the theme Enhancing National Security and Development through Capacity Building, Empowering Troops, and Strengthening Community Relations. Reporting for the Newsroom, I am Isabella Patwa.
Still ahead on the Newsroom, President Irfaan Ali announces the formation of a One Guyana Commission during his inaugural address to the Parliament. Stay tuned. This is the Newsroom. In his inaugural address to the Parliament, as President of Guyana, Dr. Irfaan Ali on Thursday announced the formation of a One Guyana Commission, a body that he says will be tasked with fostering one nationality and a common love for country. Kurt Campbell reports.
President Irfan Ali continues to push for unity among Guyanese, and on Thursday he announced the formation of a One Guyana Commission during his inaugural address to the Parliament. The head of state said it was part of the government's path to building a single Guyanese identity and part of efforts to put an end to the division caused by race and politics. In so doing, the leader of government's business in the House, Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips, will soon take steps to table legislation that will give life to the One Guyana Commission. Dr. Ali said the commission will be empowered to chart nation building through practical steps while respecting the diversity from which oneness springs. He said the commission will host countrywide consultations where it will listen to the free expressions of all voices.
The key word of my government is oneness. The essential character of my government vision is inclusion. Stop being defined by race, stop being defined by politics. Start being defined by our one nationality and by our common love for our one country. Let us lift it up together. And by doing so, let us lift each other and ourselves. One people, one nation, one destiny.
The president said it was time to move nation building from abstraction to action. In a direct message to members of parliament, Dr. Ali said parliamentarians must understand that while the citizens expect disagreements among politicians, they don't expect it to happen at their expense and detriment. He called for persons from across the political divide to work in fostering unity.
The people of this nation elected the parties represented in the assembly. They want us to be partners in serving the country, not adversaries in pulling it apart. That is not to say that they did not expect us to disagree or that they did not anticipate that we would differ. But they do not expect us to differ at their expense or to disagree to their detriment.
The president referred to the famous line in Martin Carter's poem, "All are involved and all are consumed." While the Partnership for National Unity and Alliance for Change APNU-AFC coalition members of Parliament absented themselves from the House, the President spoke in the presence of the Chancellor, Chief Justice, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the Commissioner of Police, the Chief of Staff of the Ghana Defence Force, and other special invitees.
Now, although some of its members were physically present at the Artachon Conference Center where a sitting of the National Assembly is ongoing, the members of the Partnership for National Unity and Alliance for Change coalition opposition were absent from the chambers. They were, in effect, sitting out of the debate on amendments to the Law Reform Commission Act, an act that was passed in 2016 by the then coalition government. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal had brought the amendments to the House, promising a wider range of eligible candidates to be appointed. On Thursday, during the presentations by government MPs and lone opposition MP, Deputy Speaker Lennox Schumann, Nandlal upheld that reasoning.
2017, 2018 and 2019, huge sums of money were budgeted for this commission. A building was rented for all these years at the cost of $800,000 per month. 10 clerical staff were appointed and paid for all these years. A new vehicle was acquired with a chauffeur hired. And this commission consumed in excess of $100 million, but no commissioner was ever appointed. Mr. Speaker, this constitutes once again another manifestation of a colossal waste of taxpayers' dollars, characterizing the APNU-AFC style of governance.
The amendments were subsequently passed in the National Assembly in the absence of the APNU-AFC. The Law Reform Commission is an advisory body to the state. It can recommend to Parliament amendments to existing laws, new legislation, and repeal existing legislation. The establishment of a Law Reform Commission is part of a fundamental component of the $8 million into American Development Bank funded support for the criminal justice system program. Now, with the aim of boosting Guyana's meat export market, government will soon embark on the construction of abattoirs across the country. This was announced this week by the Agriculture Minister, Zulfikar Mustafa. Sheena Henry reports.
Speaking at an event this week, the minister touched on Guyana's immense agricultural potential and how the administration can help to foster development in the sector. One such initiative to boost the country's production of beef and pork for the export market is the establishment of abattoirs across the country.
What we are looking at too, because as I said, that there are interests from overseas, we are looking to build international abattoirs across the country. We are looking, we have already started construction at Rising Sun in west coast of Berbice. We are looking at another one in Region 3 to do beef, slaughtering of cows there, animal there, so that we can have beef production there. We are looking at a swine abattoir on the east bank of Demerara.
Noting that Guyana continues to attract the attention of international investors, Minister Mustafa spoke of the need to improve on existing systems in order to remain competitive and viable. With this in mind, he pointed out that the abattoirs will subscribe to international standards,
where we'll have them certify and try to get ISO certification so that we can export these meats to other parts of the world. And they are big, lucrative markets around the world. Imagine countries from the Middle East are importing beef right from our neighbors in Brazil. We can tap in to some of those markets.
Guyana's municipal abattoir, located on Water Street, Georgetown, has been in existence since 1933 and processes approximately 75% of the meat sold on the local market. Reporting for the Newsroom, Sheena Henry.
10 samples sent to Trinidad and Tobago test negative for the new COVID-19 variants, and we highlight how a local bakery literally rose from the ashes. This is the Newsroom. The Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPA, in Trinidad and Tobago has officially informed Guyana that 10 samples sent to its lab did not reveal traces of any of the new COVID-19 variants. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, in his daily update on Thursday, said samples will continue to be sent to CARPA for test for the variants. The first 10 samples were sent last month.
Last night, CARPA informed us that the 10 samples that we sent to them, that they've been able to complete the gene sequencing, and they haven't found any of the new variants that are currently talked about. That is the variant first discovered in the UK, the one in South Africa, and the one next door. So in a way that's good news, but that does not mean that we have to decrease our vigilance, because we'll still have to continue taking samples, sending them out, just to get a sense of what is circulating here in Guyana.
Now, President Irfaan Ali used his inaugural address to the Parliament on Thursday to assure Guyanese that, among other things, his government will ensure full accountability for Guyana's oil and gas resources. Kurt Campbell reports.
President Irfaan Ali on Thursday said his government intends to account to the nation for every cent earned from the oil and gas industry. To ensure this is accomplished, he told the Parliament that the Ministry of Finance, through the Finance Secretary, will be asked to publish details of all financial data relating to oil. This information will be published in the National Gazette and supported by legislation. To prove his seriousness, the President said the legislation, which will be tabled soon, will ensure that if the information is not published, then failure to do so would be punishable by law.
My government also intends to account to the nation for every cent earned from the industry and for every cent that is spent. To accomplish this, legislation will be introduced during this session of the National Assembly, making the Finance Minister and the Finance Secretary responsible for publishing details of all revenue and expenditure in the official gazette, allowing the people to track all transactions. We are the custodians of the people's asset and will account to them for all that we do. That is why we'll also establish a regulatory framework that is independent of politicians, and why we'll build strong national capability to hold oil companies accountable and to verify production and other expenditures.
The head of state said that several measures will be taken to ensure the oil sector is properly governed, among which is the modernization of Guyana's oil laws. Dr. Ali says his government will also take steps to build the capacity for cost oil audits. Ali said too that work has begun to create a model production sharing agreement that is in line with international standards. Even with the Petroleum Commission still to be established, Dr. Ali said efforts continue to ensure the fortifying of the local content policy and accompanying legislation.
We must also acknowledge that we cannot take advantage of our oil and gas resources without the considerable investment of companies now operating in the sector. They're entitled to a fair return on their investment. Therefore, our relationship should be based on fairness, on equity, and on mutual interests.
But even with work ongoing to strengthen the regulatory and legislative governance framework for oil and gas sector, the president made it clear that the nation's traditional sectors will not be abandoned. Ali said that efforts will be made to ensure a portion of the oil money is used to make these industries globally competitive.
In tonight's feature, Sheena Henry reports on how a local bakery literally rose from the ashes to continue a proud tradition in the East Coast Demerara community of Buxton.
After being met with tragedy in the form of a fire in 2017, Benjamin's Bakery has made quite the comeback. Today, we take a look at their journey from then to now, as well as how they gave back to the community of Buxton. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Benjamin, one of the director, Benjamin Homemade Bakery. Well, the bakery started about 26 years ago. And the inspiration came from our ancestors, or my father, grandmother. She was a baker. And he came up under her, and that's how we learned. And he started his own small thing that eventually ventured out to this. Yeah, this is my father's passion, and it's also become my passion as well. So that kept us going. We didn't stop just because of the fire. We tried to persevere and get it up back again. Some of the challenges getting back to this point was getting some of the equipment back that was born. We had a really tough time getting them back into the country. And we also had some assistance from relevant authorities with tax exemption and so on. So the help was out a lot. But sourcing them was a real big problem. Well, we boast on our quality because we provide pastries and bread of a standard quality that customers enjoy. And due to the feedback and from the customers that we got, we know that we're doing something great. most of the employees reside right here in Buxton. Most of them. It's a great feeling. Know that we're here and you're also indulging, giving back to the community of Buxton. It's a great feeling. Now we're located in Borbies and Buxton. We also spread to Georgetown and the whole East Coast for now.
Reporting for our newsroom from the East Coast Demerara community of Buxton, I am Sheena Henry.
When the newsroom returns, the financial, weather and bridge reports along with sport. Welcome back. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting off with some cricket news. West Indies threw away a solid start to the second test against Bangladesh and had to rely on an unbeaten 7-4 from Nkrumah Bonner to end the day at 223 for 5 in Dhaka. The West Indies lost 3 wickets for 29 runs after lunch before the Jamaican middle-order batsman got involved in 2 partnerships that rescued the visitors from a greater implosion. Bonner, who made 86 in that historic first test win, would now look to convert to a maiden test 100 with Joshua De Silva, his not-out partner, on 22. Skipper Craig Brathwaite made 47, fellow opener John Campbell 36 and Jermaine Blackwood 28. Bowling for Bangladesh, Abu Jaid and Taijul Islam have picked up 2 wickets each. West Indies lead the 2-match series after nailing a run chase of 395 in the first test. Meanwhile, the West Indies batsman Nkrumah Bonner said he always puts pressure on himself to perform every innings as, according to him, quote-unquote, we get paid to make runs and be consistent. After his second consecutive Test 50, the Jamaican right-hander spoke to CWI's media, Dario Bartley.
Did you feel any pressure to follow up your debut 86 with a good performance in this match?
Well, for me, every inning that I play, I put pressure on myself, you know. We get paid to make runs and to be consistent, you know, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
How different is this wicket from the one in Chattogram, and what have you done differently as a batsman?
I think this wicket has a little more bounce, but it's similar. So it's basically the same game plan. Try to play as much ball on the front foot and keep the ball in the V as long as possible.
You managed the Bangladeshi spinners quite well in the last match and again today. Is there a secret to playing against them?
No, there's no secret. As I said before, you know, they're doing downs to play with the spin as much as possible. You know, stay on your front foot because of the nature of the wicket. And I said before, just keep the ball in the V as much as possible.
Do you think we lost too many wickets today?
Well, yeah, there were a few self-dismissal. However, that's the nature of the game. You know, me and Josh is there now, and the others to come. So it's important for us to bat as long as possible.
What do you think would be a good first inning total for the West Indies?
I would believe, you know, anything over 350 and we will take it. You know, I think that's a really good total.
Some news now out of the Super 50. Evan Lewis cracked his 6th list day 100 and received support from the middle order as Trinidad and Tobago Red Force defeated Jamaica Scorpions by 5 wickets in the CG Insurance Super 50 Cup on Thursday. Chasing 259, Red Force reached a target with 55 balls remaining, with Lewis smashing 107 of 92 balls with 7 sixes and 8 fours. Darren Bravo closed out the contest with a run-a-ball unbeaten 59, while Nicholas Puran made 43 and Jason Mohammed 28. Earlier, West Indies limited over batsman Brandon King missed out on 100, falling for 97 as Scorpions posted 258 for 6. All-rounder Rovman Powell made 43, Andre McCarthy chipped in with 40 and Paul Palmer made 21. Bowling for Trinidad and Tobago Red Force, Anderson Phillip picked up 3 for 36, while there was a wicket each for Ravi Rampal, Akil Hussain and Kieran Pollard. And a magnificent 100 from Casey Carty led Leeward Islands Hurricanes to a 4-wicket win in a high-scoring game against Barbados Pride in the CG Insurance Super 50 Cup on Wednesday. Playing at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua, Barbados Pride posted 301 for 8, to which Leeward Islands Hurricanes responded with 305 for 6 with 3 balls remaining. Carty's run-a-ball 123 not out was the glue in Hurricanes' chase as they recorded their first set of points this season following an opening day loss to Windward Islands Volcanoes. The defeat was Pride's second in as many games. Carty, the West Indies 2016 Youth World Cup winner, cracked 9 fours and 3 sixes and received solid support from first-game centurion Nitish Kumar, who made 41. When Barbados Pride batted, Shamar Brooks missed out on 100, falling for 96, while Jonathan Carter made 58 and Rustin Chase 33. Quinton Bostwain took 4 for 62 and Hayden Walsh Jr. 3 for 75. And Guyana Jaguars got off to a positive start in the CG Insurance Super 50 Cup with a win over Barbados Pride, who were also defeated by the Leeward Islands Hurricanes Wednesday evening. Both sides will now meet on Friday, and while the Jaguars may be favourites on paper, Hurricanes will be buoyed by their recent success. Here's Akeem Green with the preview.
In a tournament where there are just 5 preliminary matches against quality opposition, ideally none of the teams want to lose more than one match as to avoid a next runaway tussle for the top 4 spots. Hurricanes already gone down in their first match, the Windward Volcanoes. Jaguars did not have the best of batting performance by any stretch, and there was tight bowling which stifled Pride in a rain-affected match. Key batsman Chairman Het Myers said batting their 50 overs is top priority, since if they do so, they can easily score over 300 runs.
It's time for us to put that right now. It's been something with us for a couple of years now that we are not being able to bat the full 50 overs as a Guyana team. I'm just trying to make that one of my goals now, to make sure that the team goes straight to bat the 50 overs. And if we do bat 50 overs, more times than not, we'll make more than 300 runs.
Hetty Top scored for Jaguars with a blistering 80 from just 52 balls and said he's looking to add a measured approach depending on the situation.
It all depends on not really how and when we bat, basically, and if what we're doing, if we're chasing or if we're batting first, really, because I don't want to play like that each and every game, and then we keep losing games that won't really help the team, you know. So I'm just trying to do my best to do stuff to help the team, and with doing that, enjoying myself at the crease as well.
An interesting battle will be how Guyanese left-arm spinner Ash Midnight performs against his fellow countrymen. The Coolidge Cricket Ground has been a batting paradise thus far, so he would have to pull out all stocks. Though overall the batting did not perform, it is highly unlikely Jaguars will make any changes to their playing 11. The last time these two sides met in a Super 50 match was on February 28th, where Christopher Barnwell won man of the match for a match-winning innings of 89, while Hetmeyer made an unbeaten 60. Current skipper Devon Thomas cracked an unbeaten 103 at the Coolidge Ground, and Romario Shepherd took 3 for 40. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
And finally, in sport, a framework of partnership is a key element in the process of continuous sport development. That's the view of Sport Minister Charles Ramson Jr. Speaking at a function recently where a young footballer was granted a scholarship through the intervention of overseas-based Guyanese Alex Bunbury, Ramson Jr. touched on the need for more collaboration to foster an environment of growth and development.
These types of initiatives, that we continue to advance those, advance the training programs as well, and the discussions that we're having so that we can continue to collaborate. You will find that in this ministry and in this government, we want to be able to partner with the GFF and all of the associations that have a focus on developing talent and the young people of our country and advancing sport to the highest level it's ever been at. One of the reasons why, when you mentioned about energy and the aggressive nature that I'm advancing our program, is because we've got a lot to catch up on. We've got a lot to catch up on. And the problem when it comes to sport is that the ones that are ahead of us, they're not standing still. So even when we're running to catch up, they're also running away, which means that we've got to run faster. The only way that we're going to be able to run faster or move faster is if we're all pulling and rowing in the same direction. And that's one of the reasons why I continuously am trying to build this framework of partnership and collaboration because we have no alternative. Human civilization has been able to succeed not because of our individual weaknesses, but because of our collective strength. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. And that is why I will continue to extend my arm of partnership to the Guyana Football Federation, to Alex and all of the persons who want to build initiatives like this that will advance Guyanese and young Guyanese, and all of the associations in all of the areas that we're responsible for. And this is the framework that the government of Guyana, led by the president, has given us the direction to do.
And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. See you next time.